We are now live on YouTube. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. I'm your host, Destin Legary, the guy who runs this channel. Sometimes Josh edits videos. He does this fade up thing on all the videos. That's how you know it's a Josh special, because he'll do a fade up on it. Josh has been tremendously helpful, and I greatly appreciate all of his assistance with helping me make content here. Thank you, everybody. I am just going to put out a few posts really quick to promote the stream and just see how we end up doing in terms of concurrence. Hopefully we have a good one today. I do appreciate everybody who hangs out and watches with me. Let's get one going over on Patreon. Don't forget you can support the stream over at patreon.com/SaveStatePlus. That is probably the best place to do so. Been working on updating that a little bit here and there when I have a moment. If you're watching the VOD, thank you for being patient. I thought I was ready to go, so I hit the go live button, and now I am taking a few minutes to just promote everything. Okay. Thank you for joining me. We have a lot of news to go over. So I was doing the run a show for today, went to the beach with the kids. We do that sometimes on Sundays. We'll go to the beach in the morning, and it's a really nice, family time. The kids have a good time. I have a good time. And yeah, as you can probably tell from the stream title today, it's a very interesting, it's been an interesting week, just generally speaking, because a lot of narratives have been completely shattered. And I like that. I personally like when that happens, when our preconceived conceptions are maybe challenged, or I don't know how to put it. A bunch of people were wrong. People say stuff about Game Pass all the time, and we're going to talk about a story because, we have some former employees who are talking about Game Pass and what's been going on with that and how they feel about it. Everybody is negative about it. And I'm just like, well, from a player's perspective, it's positive. I don't really understand why, from anybody else's perspective, it would be seen as a net negative. So let's talk about that a little bit. I think we're going to open up with a story that I missed last week, though. It was a big story that I think people are going to appreciate that I'm discussing. It was all about Perfect Dark. So, of course. As soon as I do all the pop-outs, chat starts working. So, there was almost a Perfect Dark reboot that was saved. I don't know if you heard about this, but it went pretty well. Check this out. Perfect Dark reboot was almost saved by Take-Two before negotiations fell apart. Apparently, this almost happened. Take-Two almost swooped in, saved the day, and saved Perfect Dark. However, as we all know, that didn't happen. The game ended up being canceled. But this is an interesting story, because there was a chance that the whole project could have been saved. Let's read about it. The cancellation of Crystal Dynamics and the initiative's Perfect Dark reboot was one of the most stunning news stories of the summer. I covered it back in July. July was a big month for me because we had all this Xbox news about things shifting, about how things would be changing at Xbox, and a lot of it came true. But some of it ended up not coming true, like the Forza story. The Forza team did come out and say that there would continue to be Forza games in the near future. But this was one particular story where it didn't quite happen the way people said it would. Unfortunately, we got a really cool trailer for Perfect Dark, and then it just got canceled sort of out of the blue. I think it shocked a lot of people. A lot of people were very surprised by this game's cancellation, especially because we got such a good trailer. A new Bloomberg report alleged that Crystal Dynamics internally abandoned Perfect Dark last week after parent company Embracer Group's discussions with Take-Two fell apart. The sticking point was apparently future ownership of the Perfect Dark franchise, which currently lies at Microsoft. An unspecified number of developers have been laid off as a result. Now, I covered this. And hi, Josh. Edit that out. I don't say hi to viewers. No, I'm just kidding. Unfortunately, we covered this and we talked about how this game was sort of pieced together. It wasn't quite where it needed to be. But the fact that it was almost saved by 2K sounds very familiar. It sounds a lot like what happened with the team at Tango Gameworks and Hi-Fi Rush. Well, as we know, that team ended up at a company that is also struggling right now. I think the entire games industry is having a very difficult time, and I've really thought about what might be happening there. I do think that overhiring during COVID was part of it, and I do think there are a lot of overlaps at a lot of the companies and a lot of jobs that unfortunately are now getting cut, which, as a person who's been in leadership roles, when those kind of cuts happen, I put the blame on myself or leadership, because they're the ones who made the bet to do that overhiring, to make these choices, and there's a human cost to that. And when those expectations are met and you end up having to let people go, it sucks. And for me, I always do everything that I can to make sure that, you know, you're steering the ship correctly. You're trying to have your best contributions and protect the team, right? So when stuff like this happens, I think about how I would react in a situation where you're laying off 9,000 people or all of these people. And personally, I would blame myself. Like, you made a bad bet and now you're having to fire people. Think about, like, with the Bungie situation. That's why I blame Pete Parsons, because Pete Parsons is it's my fault. Pete Parsons is the one who made the bet to, you know, send those projections to Sony, have a 45% revenue miss. They hired up massively when they went independent so that they would look better as a prospective purchase. I believe that was the true strategy. And now Pete Parsons is gone. So anyway, I'm way off of the point here. Perfect Dark, anyway, ended up getting canceled. And then Tango Gameworks, man, where was I going with that point? I don't know. I've just been thinking about just general industry layoffs and how I think the industry has grown in a way where they've invested into a lot of things that don't make a lot of sense. And now there's a pretty significant human impact in terms of layoffs, as we see that the entire world is, and all industries are facing layoffs. And unfortunately, sometimes you can't plan for that. But I think if that's the case, if it is what's going on in the world, I think they could be a lot more clear that that is the fact. And it's not necessarily any individual's performance or anything like that. And I think that I would like to see more of that from leadership at these companies, explaining, yeah, hey, we're not making enough money in this division, or a reason like that. And personally, that's what I would like to see from corporate leadership. But anyway, 2K, I'm way out. Don't use any of that. Josh, I don't know what I'm even talking about right now. Long story short, it looks like this is the final nail in the coffin for Perfect Dark. We heard the same thing with Tango Gameworks. And Tango Gameworks ended up getting picked up by somebody, and they were able to bring the project forward. Now, the question is, would Microsoft ever release an IP like Perfect Dark to somebody else to work on? And I have to wonder if the answer to that question is maybe. Because they did it with Hi-Fi Rush and Tango Gameworks, I don't know what IPs ended up going with Tango. I believe they managed to keep the IPs, so not yet. But I know Toys for Bob went independent, and Toys for Bob was able to actually get permission to work on those games. So maybe something like that could happen. I don't know. Sorry, guys. Way off my game on that intro there. That was a bad introduction. Let's go over to Pete Hines. Start over. We're going to hit the reset button. We're going to get to the Helldivers 2 stuff. So Helldivers 2 came along and kind of knocked everybody's socks off. It beat all expectations. It broke a lot of the expectations that people had for what a game can do on Xbox. We see all these narratives about, oh, nobody buys games on Xbox and nobody does this or that on Xbox. And it's really disappointing because I think any of us who do play on all platforms, we know that there are plenty of players on Xbox and PlayStation and everywhere else that are completely willing. They are completely willing to play games. Somebody in chat just brought up Ghostwire Tokyo. So Ghostwire Tokyo ended up coming out on PlayStation. It did well. It came out after Xbox, and it just proves that people just want to play good games. They don't really care where those games are distributed. Now, one person who has a good idea of the inner workings at Xbox is Pete Hines. He worked over at Bethesda for 24 years. Now, this is a great article from over at Double Tap. Good job getting Pete Hines. A bit of a surprise, if I'm being totally honest, but great stuff over here. There are two big quotes that everybody's tearing apart. So we're just going to go right to those, and maybe I'll make a video about the others. But the first one is all about Xbox Game Pass bad, of course. Oh, great. Did it delete all of my highlights? Okay, here we go. So the first one was this big block of text here. And here's what Pete Hines said. I'm not working in any of these companies anymore, and so I don't assume that everything I knew while I was in the industry still holds true today, Hines says. At the same time, I'm involved enough to know I saw what I consider to be some short-sighted decision-making several years ago, and it seemed to be bearing out the way I said. Subscriptions have become the new four-letter word, right? You can't buy a product anymore. When you talk about a subscription that relies on content, if you don't figure out how to balance the needs of the service and the people running the service with the people who are providing the content, without which your subscription is worth jack shit, then you have a real problem. You need to properly acknowledge, compensate, and recognize what it takes to create that content and not just make a game, but make a product. That tension is hurting a lot of people, including the content creators themselves, because they're fitting into an ecosystem that is not properly valuing and rewarding what they're making. Here's the thing, I think a lot about this, right? There's all this stuff going on with YouTube right now where almost every content creator, except for Alex for some reason, is saying that there's something weird going on with YouTube. There's something weird with the stats, and people are trying to figure out what switch has been made. However, that said, as this channel has been impacted by it, and I'll talk about it later in the stream a little bit, but it doesn't mean I don't look at what I'm creating and recognize that, maybe I could do this better. Maybe I could try and improve this way. Maybe I could try and figure out how to not just go fog-brained at the start of your stream to kick things off and be a little bit more entertaining, right? And I think that is part of it. But there are a lot of factors that go into every product. So when Pete Hines obviously he worked at Microsoft, so he hears from people more directly than I probably ever will. When he's talking about Xbox Game Pass and how it's bad, I think about the amazing games that it has managed to highlight. And I know a lot of people in the development space, what they would say, well, think of the millions of failures. That is literally, you're describing life. Destin, the content creator, I do okay for myself. I've made content for years, and I think I found a place where I'm comfortable and I'm doing okay. Would I like to be the #1 streamer on all of the platforms at all times? I go live to 60,000 people whenever I feel like it. Would that be great? Sure. But that's not reality, right? Some people just find their spot, and I'm pretty comfortable where I am, if I'm being totally honest. I like what I do, and I like creating these streams for y'all. It's a fun spot. But to say that that means that the service is flawed is where I question him. So my question is, does that mean that Game Pass is bad? The fact that out of all of the games that joined Game Pass, there are some failures and there are some successes. That's just the bell curve. That's everything in life. You're going to have people who test really well at math, and you're going to have people who test very poorly, and you're going to have people at the middle of the bell curve. That's anything. So when you point the blame at external factors, like I don't blame the fact that Darth microtransaction has 3,000 concurrents for the fact that my stream does not have 3,000 concurrents. That's not how I operate in my head. In my head, I always say, when I'm like really putting my heart into a piece of content, really spending time editing it and writing it and working on it, I am going to do everything to the best of my ability to make that a great piece of content. I think the Silk Song piece, I did that right after I was a little bit nerfed because I did that right after I got out of a really bad cold. I'm still fighting it off a little bit. And I put that out there. It did okay. I was pretty happy with how that piece came out. And I'm always trying to strike that balance where I'm making okay content. And I correlate that to what's happening in the games industry. You see a Silk Song come along, and here's the problem. You have a lot of people saying, well, Game Pass is bad. Game Pass is cannibalizing sales. Game Pass won't let you succeed. And like just this year alone, Claire Obscure Expedition 33 not only sold well, but it was on Game Pass. You have other games like Elder Scrolls Oblivion, the remake. It had early access and it had all of these sales. It was on Game Pass. And now you have Hollow Knight Silksong, which is on Xbox Game Pass, and yet it's breaking store sales. So I think I just don't get it. I don't get how you have a service that is making billions of dollars every year, and like somehow that's the problem, right? And that's why, I like Sean Layden. I had him on the show, but it's the one point of contention I have with him. I do not see how it's this big, evil, bad thing. And I've listened to them and I hear them talk about it, but it doesn't explain why so many, and there's a lot of examples of people who've found success. And sure, there's thousands of people who've not seen success on Xbox Game Pass. That's just life. That's with any video game. If I made a video game and put it on Steam, maybe it's at the top of the bell curve, maybe it's at the bottom of the bell curve, but I took a shot at success. And maybe I hit it that time. Maybe I don't. I don't get up all in my feelings about that sort of stuff. Wire Up says Sandfall didn't jump on Game Pass till later half of development. So here's the thing about that. Xbox Game Pass and what it offers developers is money. Hey, we're a little short on money. Well, okay, if you join Game Pass, we'll give you enough money to complete your development. They come to terms on a contract and then they release it on the service. So I don't know. I find it very odd that constantly is pointed at as some sort of boogeyman or some sort of scary thing or some sort of bad thing. And the Silk Song piece that I made, it is about these continued narratives from the industry about how XYZ doesn't work. Well, okay, what about XYZ example of when it did work? Oh, well, they're the outlier. They're a unicorn. They're something different. Like, we can't do that. Why not? I don't believe you. I think you can learn something from Silksong. I think you can learn something from Baldur's Gate. I think you can learn something from Claire Obscure. And you know what? All of the games that I mentioned, they were made with a smaller budget. They were made with fewer people. And they were made massive successes. I think, and part of the thing that I was sort of trying to wade my way through at the beginning of the stream was that I think we have gotten to the point where the games industry, where the people that are running the companies that are doing all the hiring and everything, I don't know if they know how to structure the business in a way to see success. Because we have three kids who used to make Flash games on Newgrounds going to game jams, coming along and making something like Silksong. It's three guys. That's the core team. Of course, they hired freelancers and contractors and stuff. But now you have all of these posts from people saying that somehow that's bad or that's not the way to do it. What if that is the way to do it? Three people at the helm who have a very clear artistic vision, and they dictate what they want to make for their project. Maybe someday they'll be allowed to expand. I have an interview coming out with a developer who in college, he made a game called Morbid Metal. I don't know if you've heard about it. I went to Gamescom. I got to check it out. Ubisoft ended up picking him up. They gave him some capital to develop his idea. I think we're going to see a lot of these mid-tier studios and smaller tier studios step in and do things on a much more nimble basis and see massive success. So yeah, maybe these executives don't need their car collections. Maybe all that money should go to Team Cherry and the people who help make their ideas possible. And like I said, and this isn't to throw shade at Sean Layden or Pete Hines. They're entitled to their opinion, but I think it's also okay for us to not agree with people and have earnest discussions about why I feel like their point is moot. Oh, a bunch of people didn't see success on Game Pass, so therefore Game Pass is a failure? I don't understand. How does that make any sense? Because in life, with anything being created, with any product being put out there, do you know how many businesses fail every year? Like, this is a thing. This is a life thing. I don't think it's necessarily a Game Pass thing. And if somebody finally like makes the picture clear, like, look how devastating Game Pass is, I'll make a video about it and I'll talk about it. But to date, I have not seen that case made very well. Former PlayStation CEO says Xbox Game Pass and other subscription services turn developers into wage slaves and are bad for business. He also called them dangerous at one point. And I'm just like, what are we doing here? That's just not how the deals are even structured. And there's plenty of developers who have said, we wouldn't have even been able to make our dream a reality without Xbox Game Pass. So I think, well, it's not the gangbuster success Xbox said it would be, because, their projections are outlandishly crazy. I think there's more to it than that. And I think it's a deeper conversation. It's never one size fits all. It's never a one idea solution, right? And it's also, on the other side, not a one issue problem. It's sort of a domino effect. And my big criticism is that it's very exciting when I see a small team like Team Cherry come along, make a game. It performs well at launch. We're not seeing a ton of issues, or at least not issues where the game doesn't function. It's a lower price point. That breaks another rule. It's on Game Pass, which is dangerous, according to Sean Layden. And I just don't agree with those assessments. It doesn't, I see what has happened to all of these success stories. And the counter argument is only, well, a lot of people failed. Yeah, a lot of people fail at stuff in life. That happens. Anyway, there was another part in the Pete Hines interview that also popped out. And that was this Prey piece. They talked about Prey because they were going to do a Prey 2, and he sort of talked about the name. Don't even get me started on that, Hines replies when I asked. I definitely pissed some people off internally over that because I fought so hard against using that name. I'm the head of the spear, but I had a lot of people across my team, brand, PR, community, and we feel like we're burdening it with a name where we spend more time explaining why it's called Prey than we do talking about the game. I regret that I lost that battle, but nobody on this planet would have put more of a good faith effort into changing minds on that. My whole point was, look how much time we spend talking about what the game is versus why it's called this. And like, that is wasted energy. That is wasted excitement. We could be turning that into something positive. I agree with that. I think that's a great assessment and a great way to look at it. Honestly, that's actually some interesting insight. And the reason I brought up the Prey thing, like, I don't really care one way or another about Prey, because right around the time that this article came out, leaked Prey 2 development footage shows sci-fi bounty hunter gameplay that our cold and uncaring universe continues to deny us. Oh, what could have been. So obviously the video's been pulled, but around the turn of the 2010s, however, we almost saw our sci-fi sellsword dreams realized in Prey 2, a sequel to the 2006 FPS that would have placed players in the shoes of a bounty hunter in an alien metropolis if it wasn't canceled in 2014 after being mired in development hell, studio acquisitions, and IP juggling routines. And somebody posted the gameplay, and obviously it's all been pulled down. And if I played it, I would probably get demonetized and deplatformed or whatever happens to YouTubers that play leaked stuff. There's more than 20 minutes of in-development gameplay, and if that's the same as David Halstead, who posted on LinkedIn about being caught up in sweeping Microsoft layoffs after working as the level designer at Arcane and the original Prey developer Human Head Studios, there's some reason to believe it's genuine. So I wonder if his post got pulled down. Hey, I got whacked today during the great ZeniMax Online Microsoft purge. Pretty exciting to have this finally happen to me after seeing so many others go through it. Anybody looking for a good world builder / designer? So there's some thoughts that it could be this person. Obviously, that's a rumor and conjecture. We can't confirm that, but yeah. So it looks like some Prey footage got sent out there. Pete Hines is going out and putting up all these salty posts, and it sure has been an interesting day. But that was just the lead-in content, everybody. That was just the lead-in content. We do have a super chat here. Let me just check that really quick. Nikki Z says, Game Pass is how I got into Fallout 76, and here I am, 1,400 levels and 150 days later, and still playing for Fallout first. Good stuff, man. That's what I'm talking about. You know what I hear more than anything about Xbox Game Pass? Xbox Game Pass showed me this game. I wouldn't have played this game without Game Pass. I never would have checked this out. And they have data that shows people will play a few minutes. But that means people actually played your game. Would you rather have them play a few minutes or 0 minutes whatsoever and they never even knew your game existed? I would rather somebody play my game for an hour than never. So even with the negative metrics that people discuss online, there's a little positivity to be found if you're looking for it. The Gaming Ledger says one game could be an outlier versus the norm in a sales trend. I don't think you can say it breaks a narrative / trend. That being said, it's good for HD. I'm very happy for the company. I think that more often than not, we have stories about how Game Pass has helped a development studio. Let's say you signed with Xbox Game Pass and your game came out on the service and it didn't do great. Well, your game still came out. I wrote, it's a very cheesy saying, but it's one of my favorite sayings. It's from a children's book. You know, I read to my kids all the time, and it's a very cheesy saying, but I really, really like it. You should shoot for the moon. That way, if you miss, you could wind up amongst the stars. I think it's a great saying, and it's a great reminder that when we make something or when we're aspiring to make something, we should aim for the highest mark that we can see. That way, like, even if you publish a game, isn't that kind of amazing? Isn't that amazing? And somebody in chat said, personally, I'd rather buy than buy it. Sure, I'd rather they buy it. But if I got to work on my dream game or like a game I wanted to make for 7 years, and Xbox Game Pass helped me do that, and it helped me pay all my employees for those 7 years, sure, it comes out, it doesn't work out, but you shot a shot, and you shot high, and you got to try it. Like, we all dunk on Concord, right? But they tried it. Now we could talk about like all the ways that it went wrong, but they tried to make something. And I do think there is a lot to respect in the fact that they at least tried. Failed, but they tried. And I can respect that aspect of it a lot. Aries with the 5 gifted. Thank you so much, Aries EMS. Greatly appreciate that very, very much. Good to see you, Aries. It's been a while. I think you're still one of the main shout outs in the videos. We are here. Let me start that again. We're going to start a clip here. Well. It looks like Xbox gamers do buy games after all. A PlayStation game is now the best selling game on Xbox. As somebody that plays on all platforms, yes, I am aware that people do like to play video games on whatever they like to play on. And guess what? That includes Xbox gamers. And yes, Xbox gamers do buy games. Now, I would be lying if I said, even I was tempted to jump back in just for that Helldivers downloadable content or skin. And it basically looks like that dream project of ODSTs jumping into the world of Helldivers. And I love that. I haven't bought it yet, but it doesn't matter because it's already selling like hotcakes. If you ever doubted the console wars were over, here's a new piece of data to consider. Helldivers 2, formerly console exclusive to Sony's PS5, is currently the best-selling title on Xbox. In fact, it's the first and third best-selling game if you count its more premium edition, and it's currently the 9th most played game on the platform, mostly beaten by free-to-play games like Fortnite and Roblox, but also Minecraft and GTA 5. I love this story so much because it, again, proves that, of course, Xbox gamers buy games. We've seen the metrics from Microsoft. They've been very clear that they have a very engaged audience, that people really care about their content library. And the stuff that we see online, it's just not an accurate narrative. I'm happy to see a PlayStation game sell well on Xbox. One of the games that I play the most, Destiny, is now a Sony-owned game and probably soon a Sony-owned studio. So for me, I am so very happy to see Xbox gamers getting to play Helldivers 2. It is such a great example of a video game that is about playing together to, defeat the space bugs. And it really, really is a perfect collaboration with the ODST content. I'm glad that Xbox said, we're going to tear down these barriers and we're going to release on other platforms. I have also been very happy to see that PlayStation gamers are getting to play games like Gears of War Reloaded. I saw that Gears of War Reloaded also has something like 1 million players right now. So everybody's getting to play one of my favorite Xbox games on PlayStation, and one of my favorite PlayStation games are now on Xbox. Isn't this nice? Isn't it nice that we all get to play these great games on whatever platform we prefer? I think that the console wars, I'm serious, are done. And I think they've been done for a while. Especially since PlayStation has the job posting where they're looking about how do we make this a more regular occurrence? If you missed it, PlayStation is looking to hire somebody to figure out when to release games on Xbox and what that looks like in the future. And I'm willing to bet that Helldivers 2 doing so well on Xbox is going to move that along a little bit faster. The Verge continues, it doesn't surprise me that Helldivers 2 is popular on Xbox because it was a huge hit on PS5 and PC. Last May, Sony revealed that Helldivers 2 had become PlayStation's fastest selling game of all time with 12 million copies sold in 12 weeks. And it may have now crossed 18 million after reportedly racking up nearly 1 million on Xbox in its first week on sale. Here's the image in question. You can see it's in the first spot. It's in the third spot. Helldivers 2 is selling tremendously well on the platform. It's shocking to see to anybody who thought that this wouldn't happen. Now, I personally am happy to see that it's doing well, because it means that PlayStation is likely going to put more on Xbox, and Xbox is going to continue doing their things, because Xbox knew that this would happen. Now, what's surprising is that we now live in an era where companies like Sony and Microsoft no longer entirely see their hit games as a way to get players to buy their own consoles, and instead just want to sell as many copies of these games as they can. Back in May, we wrote about how the top 3 games on PlayStation came from Microsoft, and now it's reciprocal. Sony has come around to this position slowly, but by 2022, it planned for roughly half of its games to come out on PC or mobile instead of just console. And though PlayStation game boss Herman Hull suggested in 2024 that some of Sony's big single-player games might be held in reserve, the company revealed this August that it's gradually moving away from a hardware-centric business model. It's about selling games, not consoles. That's the future, everybody. Anybody holding on to this idea that games are going to be locked to one box, except for Nintendo, of course, I think that too many variables have happened that make it impossible for these companies to only sell to their own ecosystems. Especially in Microsoft's case, because they have a smaller ecosystem. The estimate is around 30 million consoles sold. PlayStation has 70 million PlayStation 5 consoles sold, and the game's doing well. But you know what's better than a lot of money? Even more money. And that's what these companies care about at the end of the day. They're seeing 3 Xbox games topping their sales charts. And they're probably calling up Phil and saying, hey, you know what? Screw it. Let's get Helldivers on Xbox. Oh, you know that deal we had about Black Myth Wukong? Yeah, who cares? Let's get that one on Xbox too. I don't know what happened with the Black Myth Wukong thing, but there's all this shade being thrown around by Xbox about saying like, well, we wish Sony would let us put it on our platform. Surprise, it's there now. Not optimized great, but it is there. And I do think we're going to continue to see this in the future. And if it doesn't happen organically the way it has with Helldivers, Xbox is going to Trojan horse it in. Because whatever the next console is going to be from Xbox, the ROG Xbox Ally X is an example. It's their prototype for what the future of gaming is going to be. It's going to allow you to play Spider-Man or whatever, because you're going to be able to play those games via Steam. So Xbox could give PlayStation a pretty easy setup here. Hey, we'll give you a better percentage if you let us sell your games on the Xbox store. We'll give you 80-20. Steam is 70-30. I think Steam might even be worse than that now, but I believe it's 70-30. So maybe there's a chance that in the future, a lot of these barriers end up coming down. And there might still be like a 6-month or 1-year barrier. But Christopher Dring responded to one of my tweets saying that we're never going to see Spider-Man on Xbox. I don't know about that. I don't know. Because I think what Xbox is changing. And I think Sony sees that. And I think what Sony is also changing a little bit. They play a little bit more old school. They do like exclusivity windows. But it's going to be easy to see. It's going to be interesting to see, I mean. Here's why some of you will no doubt point out. Is Helldivers 2 actually a PlayStation game, since PlayStation is merely the publisher and doesn't own its developer Arrowhead Game Studios? Is it really such a big deal? This guy's coming in hot. Who wrote this? I would say yes, because Sony has been the one in control, the one making the strategic decisions over when and where and how much PlayStation goodness to share. When players balked at how Helldivers 2 originally required you to log in with a PlayStation account on PC, it was out of Arrowhead's hands. When players wanted an Xbox version, Arrowhead said it was entirely up to Sony. This is a Sony play. And they're going to make a lot of money because of it. It is a smart Sony play. Microsoft doesn't have to cut such publishing deals to bring Xbox's biggest games to PlayStation, though. When it comes to bringing Indiana Jones and Hellblade 2 to PS5, it could do so because it owns both giant publisher and developer Bethesda and developer Ninja Theory itself. What is an Xbox and what is a PlayStation if not the place to play specific games. It is a launcher and a set of familiar controls. Is it a feeling? That's the challenge facing Microsoft and Sony if they continue down this road. They're continuing down this road. It's going to continue to happen. What's the first flagship game from Sony that you think Xbox is going to get? Do you think that will happen? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I think it's going to be Left 4 Dead. Not Left 4 Dead. Last of Us. I personally think it's going to be Last of Us. I think Last of Us will be the first big one on Xbox. However, it could be God of War. I would love it for it to be God of War. The Horizon game, if it was Horizon, I think that would be hilarious because Herman Hulse has been a staunch detractor about releasing PlayStation games on Xbox, at least publicly, because that's probably what he has to say. And yeah, here's the crazy thing though. Check this out. Helldivers 2 sold more on Xbox than PlayStation in the first 6 days. It sold more on the other platform it came to late than it did on PlayStation. That's a huge win for Xbox gamers looking for a great game and for PlayStation in my book. And that's a great future. Here's what Insider Gaming says. Helldivers 2 has sold more copies than on Xbox than PlayStation within the first 6 days of launch. The Xbox launch has been a great plan for Helldivers 2, contributing to the Steam player count in recent days as well. Moreover, Arrowhead has also released the collaboration with Halo ODST. New sales details for Helldivers 2 on Xbox have been revealed. Now, spotted by Game Rant, the latest Alinea Insight newsletter has provided, does he link out to it? Details about what's selling well where. And PlayStation published Helldivers 2 on Xbox on the same day as Gears of War Reloaded launch. As of yesterday, 6 days after launch, Helldivers 2 landed 926,000 copies on Xbox. The pent-up demand for this incredible game speaks for itself. In fact, the PlayStation version had sold 633,000 copies 6 days after launch last year. That August download list, done and dusted, so let's take a look at August. That's interesting because I think part of it is because word of mouth has traveled. People know what Helldivers 2 is now. And I think when it initially launched on PlayStation, that word of mouth was still gaining traction. So that is definitely part of it. But still, what a great win. What a great win for PlayStation. What a great win for Xbox. And what a great win for gamers. Are you playing Helldivers 2? Let me know in the comments. And Josh, you can probably cut it right after I said that last part. Great stuff. All right, that's my first actual good clip out thing, I think. I don't know about that first part, but yeah. I think Hiroki Totoki really cares about making profit. And I think that he has been focused on what happened when I was doing that read. 48 epic tier. Aries, you've been backing for 48 months. He says, do we hear more titles jumping consoles at this year's TGS? My vote is Returnal or Days Gone. Personally, oh man. I think Returnal would be a good testing of the waters. Days Gone is kind of like a no-brainer. Okay, Days Gone seems to be their test case. Wasn't it the first PC remaster they did? I can't remember what they ended up doing first in that regard for PC. Because one of their early games, it was a big game, but not the mega game, right? So I think that was a pretty cool game, but not Oops. Sorry if you got doubled up Destin there for a second. Rip the Band-Aid off, says one person in chat. I agree with that. All right, we have a few smaller things. Then we're going to get sort of the PlayStation side of things. There's some exciting PlayStation stuff that has been discussed lately. At least I'm hyped about it. I don't know about y'all. Have you heard about the PlayStation rumors? We'll get that in a second. Let's keep talking Xbox. Celebrating 2 incredible years in the Starfield. Thank you to everyone who has explored the settled systems with us. We look forward to the adventures yet to come. And at the end of this, they're doing like a little bit of a teaser for something coming to Starfield. So, you know, oh, and Elias Tufo, I don't know. He said, thank you, Starfield fans, still going. So there's an indication that they're going to do something with Starfield. Now, sure, I'm interested in it. I did say that I'm probably going to restart my playthrough. But yeah, I don't know. Not excited at all. Yeah, they haven't done a lot for hype. Just to address chat really quick. Any chance we'll get a new Fireteam chat? Oh, I got some bad news about me working at IGN. I don't anymore. So probably not a new Fireteam chat. I've wanted to do a show again, like a podcast again. But the problem is I don't know who I would want to do that with. And the people I would, like people I'm comfortable with, like Paul Tassi, right? I like doing shows with Paul. He's great. He has kids now. So it's even harder for him just to do his base, even his own YouTube videos. He broke 100K, by the way, everybody. Big congrats to Paul. It's harder for him to find time to do it. Alex in Paris? Not a bad idea, maybe. But the problem is the way that Fireteam chat was formed, we all played one game, and then we would talk about that game. I would need to think about like what is the thing that I would want to make that would be different. So will you do a new Fireteam chat? I don't know. We did Xfil chat, and we talked about Marathon. By the third episode of that, we were all kind of like, well, at least I was a little more down on where Marathon was at. But anyway, let's move on a little bit here for a second. Wait. I would tune into a show with 3 banana men. Matt, that's not bad, Matt. I like that. All right, here we go. Another clip out here. Let's see if I can do 2. I mean, if I do them as well as I did that last one, maybe I'll just do the clips today. Are you playing PoE 2 Act 4? Danny, and we're doing a little chat where I interact with chat section here. Danny, yeah, I am playing PoE 2. I rolled a Ranger. I'm still in Act 1. I'm only level 17. I haven't had a ton of time to play, but that has been my comfort game lately. So, like, I'm not playing Borderlands 4. I emailed requesting a code, nothing yet. I emailed about Ghost of Yotei, nothing yet. And I know, well, I was going to do this at the end of the show. Gene Park has a code. Gene, I still haven't touched this game. Lol, #Silksong, Gene Park. But I've also been thinking about, so like even if I get a code, it's very nice when people send codes. But at the same time, I don't have time. I haven't had time to just like really play games. Like Death Stranding, I'm in Act like 4 or something like that, or Chapter 6. You can go check on the gameplay channel and see where I left off. And then like other stuff comes up. And I don't get to just sit and play through one game. There's 2 games I want to finish this year that I still haven't. I still haven't finished Clair Obscur, and I haven't finished Death Stranding 2. So I'm kind of wondering, is there a benefit for me with my limited amount of time to get those codes, and what kind of content should I be creating for y'all? That's what I've been thinking about lately. Like, what should I be focusing my efforts on so that I can make better content for you without like rushing to get to the review embargo? So anyway, yeah, there's been a lot of great games this year. I finished more games this year than I have in a long time. So that's nice. Like actually finish them. But then it's always like move on to the next thing. And if you ask me like, what would I want to be playing right now? I got to play Tokon a little bit. I can talk about that. It was very fun. I got through the tutorial, and then I had to go chase the kids, you know? So yeah. Thank you, Who. I do appreciate that. So anyway, that's what I've been thinking about a lot. Angry Joe doesn't post a review till like 3 months after the game. Yeah, but like, so here are my options. I don't play Borderlands. That's not going to happen. Of course I'm going to play Borderlands. I don't play Yotei. Instead, I go back, I finish Clair Obscur, I finish Donkey Kong, I finish, what's the other one I said that I didn't finish yet? The other game that I started, Death Stranding 2. I post those reviews, and then in December, I already played through Hellblade 2. Yotei can wait. Yeah, maybe Yotei waits. I don't know. I put the request in. We'll see what happens with Yotei. I remember last time with Death Stranding. That was a surprise, so I appreciated that very much. You have to disclose that. You have to go. Anyway, let's get back to it. Let's get your head back in the game, Destin. Thanks for chatting with me, chat. I do appreciate it. How are we doing on concurrence? The streams have been down a little bit. My brain's getting a little scattered. 189? Not bad. It's okay. Here we go. We got some big... I need to blow my nose. 1 second. Y'all don't need to see this. Told you I've been fighting off a cold. Spoilers for what the next story is going to be. Insider Gaming has a pretty substantial exclusive. It's about the next state of play. And they're claiming that the next state of play is going to be Marvel's Wolverine game being created by Insomniac Games. Real quick history about Destin. I started out as a Wolverine fan who on GeoCities would make the unofficial Wolverine homepage. I was the #1 search results on, I think it was Yahoo back in those days, for Wolverine content, for non authentic Marvel properties online. And I would just talk about what happened in the latest issue of Wolverine. I am a huge, huge Wolverine fan. I think I've played every Wolverine game. Yes, I saw the leaked footage that everybody else saw because it was all over X, and I don't care. I'm going to play the heck out of Marvel Wolverine. It's one of my favorite franchises. It's one of my favorite characters. I am so freaking excited. I want this to be true. I want this to be true. But I'm going to put on my clown makeup now. Let's go for a ride, everybody. Insider gaming sources have revealed that Insomniac Games Wolverine is ready to be shown off for the first time officially since the 2021 PlayStation Showcase. According to sources who wish to remain anonymous, of course, because they're going to get sued, as they couldn't talk about company plans, PlayStation is currently planning its next State of Play event towards the end of September. That's coming up very soon. Other sources revealed that Insomniac Games Wolverine is almost certainly going to be at the event, as the production of its next trailer has now been completed. If the game doesn't appear at State of Play, then the trailer will undoubtedly be released in the next few months, with the Game Awards being the next likely candidate. Insomniac Games Wolverine faced some issues in development following a ransomware attack in December 2023, during which employee information and a substantial amount of game footage leaked online. The hack resulted in some changes to the game's plans, but the extent of these changes is currently unknown. At the time of writing, neither PlayStation nor Insomniac Games has revealed when Wolverine is set to be released, but fingers crossed, an answer awaits us in the coming weeks. The game is currently slated to release exclusively on the PlayStation 5. Personally, I am taking this with a massive grain of salt. This is not a slight to Insider Gaming. I just, with PlayStation fans are great. There's a ton of amazing PlayStation fans out there, right? Tons of them. However, one thing I've noticed online is that when it comes to rumors and speculation, all fandoms, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, oh my goodness, they get really caught up in any sort of leak or rumor as though it is gospel. So I personally will be treating this with a massive, huge, hot piping pile of salt grains. if that makes sense. So I will definitely put on my clown makeup for this one, but I'm not going to lie. I want them to be right so freaking bad, because I know we all saw the leaked footage on X, and I thought it looked pretty good for being something that was never supposed to see the light of day. I'm like, this is where you're at with no plans to be showing this footage? To me, I was really excited by it. So if they have something more polished, I think it's going to be really, really, really good. Danny Passion says, thanks for the content you make. I usually listen to your videos when I have a long drive to go film at a different city or state. Well, thank you so much for watching, Danny. I do greatly appreciate it. And I do see you online, and I see you in the comments every once in a while. I try to give you a like when I see them. Why do I feel the leaks are intended? Filaroni says, I don't know. But I, for one, I want it to be true. I really, really want it to be true. I should have done this ahead of time, but I bet people are talking about it. And I wonder if people are hyped. I think people are going to be pretty excited. Yeah. So here, we have a few people covering it. We have discussing film. Insomniac's Wolverine game will likely be at PlayStation next State of Play. Let's see what the quote tweets say. Me the second the trailer starts. People are excited. Intergalactic and The Last of Us Part 3 win. Oh, I clicked something weird. Let's go. We finally won. I want to believe it. This is me. This GIF is how I'm feeling, like, in my heart of hearts. Do I want the next State of Play to be Insomniac's Wolverine? Absolutely. I would love to see more Wolverine content. I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge comic book fan. Anything related to comic books, I try and play it. And that sounds really, really good. How are you feeling about it? Let me know in the comments or in chat. Do you think this is going to happen? Yes or no? Yes, it'll happen. No, it's not happening. What do you think? Let me know in chat. We had another, I'm just going to skip this because it's like an old story. Oh, yeah. And the other PlayStation story that we had was, unfortunately, this is from some website, some French website. They're reducing the amount of storage in the PlayStation 5 Slim, the CFI 2100. They are reducing it from 1 terabyte to 825 gigabytes. The other notable improvement was that the introduction of a 1 terabyte SSD drive compared to the 825 gigabyte offered on the previous fat PS5 models. In June 2025, certification documents spotted on the net originating from the Japanese website that they're going to be reducing back to that original amount, which is aimed at optimizing production costs with possibly some minor internal adjustments. With prices rising in the US, this new version could well increase the frustration of future buyers, especially since a reduction in storage space is now reportedly in PlayStation's plans. So you're going to pay more and you're going to get less storage space. Now, I do wonder if the documentation is talking about the usable storage space, because those original drives, even on the base PlayStation, I remember because I did the testing over at IGN, it says it comes with 1 terabyte, but that's not what you get because you need to reserve space for the OS and everything. If you're actually getting an 800 gigabyte drive, that means you're only going to have like 750 gigs. So I'm curious if this is because it's like a translation and this is the only source that I could find for it. I am curious if it's just about that operating system storage, but yeah, unfortunate to say the least. I do wish that PlayStation could figure out a better way to do it, but yeah. My super chat was about Helldivers, not Game Pass, the leading ledger. I don't know what you mean. I only saw the one gaming. One game that could be an outlier versus the norm and a sales. Oh, Hell is Us. Yeah, I have seen that one being discussed quite a bit. So maybe. We have a few other stories. I think I had one more somewhat big one to go over, but let's just get through these. We're going to sort of do a little rapid fire thing. The official Cyberpunk 2077 social media channels have posted a cryptic tease, which hints to something September 4th. Now, this comes at a time when Cyberpunk 2 cinematic director Andrzej Stopia is celebrating his 10th year. And they specifically called it Cyberpunk 2, which some people have noted. I wonder if they're going to do their first teaser trailer for Cyberpunk 2. They usually do their marketing really far out, and I would be totally hyped for that. I don't know about y'all. Continuing on. Metal Gear Solid Delta. This is a game that I played and I liked very much. However, I do admit that I wish that the optimization was more well done. It wasn't very well optimized. They have sold 1 million copies globally. I think that's okay. I think without the negative sentiment about performance, this number could have been even higher. I do think, all things considered, I played on PC, I played a bit on console. The performance issues are there. I wasn't bothered by it as much, except for the fact that Konami's a big company. They're big boys and girls. And I wish there was a prioritization on making sure that these games were optimized at launch as opposed to like patching them later. I think that the day one patch really messed up pipelines and timelines for games. It's supposed to be this good thing, but it just gets used as a total crutch because people like get hyped. The Metal Gear Delta release is great. I think it's really, really solid. A lot of the performance issues are tied to not taking the time to optimize. However, they are listening. I have been following along. I tested version 1.13. It still had the performance issues, but if you scroll down, feedback overview, this is their version of we're listening. We sincerely appreciate the many players who are enjoying the game and sharing valuable feedback and issue reports. We are actively investigating and working on the below items. Steam support for support for 21x9, in-game feature to check system specs, PS5 option to select a preferred rendering mode when playing on PS5 Pro, all platforms, improvements to overall performance stability. Please note that we may need some time to review and address the above points. We will share details on future updates as soon as they are finalized. This is surprising from Konami. Konami just basically came out and said, hey, we hear you on PS5 Pro should have the option. It should. It should have at launch. All improvements to performance need to happen. I did not expect to see this from Konami whatsoever, though, because they didn't really talk about it, as far as I can remember, with the Metal Gear Volume 1 collection. Volume 1, people talk about how, the original Metal Gear runs better on DuckStation, how the Xbox 360 version of the Metal Gear collection runs better on the Series X than versions of this game. So there's all of this stuff that they could have done a little bit better. My name is Captain Ketch. Yes, I just covered off on that. We just talked about the tweet. They sold 1 million in 24 hours. You can see that post right here. We talked about it. It's celebrating 1 million sales globally. Amazing. And that was as of 8/28. I don't think that was at launch, but it was shortly after launch. So I'm happy they're listening. I hope they adjust it. And if you were curious what Kojima's been up to in relation to Metal Gear stuff, Kojima production stage will be September 23rd, Sunday. This is from 2018. I'm an idiot. Something's going on with Hideo Kojima. And he's been teasing something for his anniversary. Here it is. From 9 minutes ago. Thank you. The Kojima Productions 10th anniversary event, Beyond the Strand, will be held at Roppongi Hills. December 16th marks the 10th anniversary of our studio. This special fan event will be an opportunity to look back on the past decade and think about the next 10 years together with our guests and fans. Lottery reservations now open for Tokyo Game Show 2025. We will only have a merchandise booth. So they're not doing anything at the merch booth, but they're doing this really special thing for their fans. Kojima's been really great since leaving. I think he's really done his thing in terms of his vision and everything. And he's really stuck to it. I think he's made some cool stuff. I think he's been really balanced online. Every morning I wake up and I know Hideo Kojima retweeted a bunch of images from Death Stranding or cosplay or whatever. And like every morning I'm just flooded with that every single day. So he takes the time to do that, or he's hired somebody to do it. And I respect that a lot. It also, I don't know if you heard, but there's a Call of Duty movie. It's officially in the works at Paramount. Paramount also have the rights to expand Call of Duty into a universe of multiple film and TV shows. This is just like a no-brainer. It's a war video game. Just tell a story about one of the wars. I don't think that this is, and you don't need to make it like larger than life or anything like that. Take the Call of Duty Modern Warfare campaign, the old one on the 360, make it into a movie. There, I made your movie for you. Like, just do it. Just do it 1-to-1. The problem is, I think, when a director comes in or somebody comes in and they take too many liberties with these movies. So I hope they don't do that. Don't do that. Just make a faithful 1-to-1 creation there. Oh, more bad news for PlayStation. I should have paired this with the PlayStation group. I forgot about this. Fair Games $ game director Daniel Drapeau has left Haven Studios. Drapeau is a veteran of the gaming industry, having originally started out as a game tester before climbing up the ranks into game design. And remember, Jade Raymond, the founder of the studio, departs ahead of the first game's debut. Yeah, guess what, GameDeveloper.com? I don't think this game's coming out. I think Fair Games is done. Good for him for getting out. I don't want to see the studio crumble. It's clear that this game didn't focus test well. People didn't like what they saw. Please cancel it. I'm all for being wrong, chat. But I don't see a world where this comes out and is anywhere near where it needs to be to break through right now. But it's still in all the earning calls for Sony. Sony hasn't pulled the plug on this, and it hasn't pulled the plug on Marathon. I think Marathon could limp along. Sorry. I think Marathon could limp along. I gotta take care of this. Sorry. I'm losing my voice. Still sick. I think that Marathon could limp along long enough to, find success. Arc Raiders looks amazing, to Phil Aroni's point, and was amazing when I played it. It totally ended up surprising me. Am I good? I'm good, right? Many directors want to add their signature style. You're fine. Don't say that, Phil Ron. You're going to mess me up. Throw me off my game. Think I got tissue all over my face or something. Anyway, yeah, Fair Games ended up losing another director. So Daniel Drapeau, he left Haven Studios after Jade Raymond left. As of this week, I joined WB Games Montreal Inc. as creative director, wrote Drapeau a few weeks ago on LinkedIn. I can't wait to start this wonderful adventure with all the great people here at the studio. Now, what is WB Games Montreal working on? They're working on some sort of hero live service game. I believe that was the rumor. And he's moved over there. So what would you rather work on? Justice League stuff or fair games $. Personally, I would rather get out of there and work on something in the DC universe. Like, how do you know that DC Universe Online exists and you don't leverage a remake of DC Universe Online? Like, what are you doing? You have the template. It's so crazy. It's just like, and you know what really opened my eyes this year? People are like, oh, I'm so tired of remakes. You know who's not? Everybody else. Everybody likes remakes. You know why? Because games made in the PS2, PS3, and 360 era were so good that just give them a fresh coat of paint. Eternal Darkness. Remake it. Go remake that for the Switch 2. Have some fun with the Switch 2 tech. Go remake some of these old games that did interesting things for modern audiences. You have these mega hits that are they're just old, right? They just look old. And unfortunately, they need a little bit modernization. And I hope Metal Gear shows that it is possible. It is possible to do that and find success. Bandai Namco have been living off of remakes. So is Capcom. Capcom remade all of the Resident Evil games. And I know for a lot of people are like, oh man, I already played those games. I don't want to play those again. You know who didn't play those games? People who aren't 40 years old like me. And they get to experience for the first time. There's like 3 generations of gamers who have come along since the original Resident Evil. And you're saying, oh, you're tired of remakes. I'm tired of a remake of a game that came out 2 years ago, but I'm not, but like, if you're talking about remaking Dead Space or remaking the original Resident Evil games, I completely disagree with you. Remake those games. Remake Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Remake all the Metal Gear games. Remake Metal Gear 2 next. No, we all know the Metal Gear they need to remake. It's Metal Gear Solid 4. Right? I hope that I live long enough to see Metal Gear Solid 4 come out on something that is not the PS3. And then, you know, just talking about all these narratives and stuff, I did kind of want to throw some positivity towards Delta Force. Delta Force hit an all-time concurrent player count. Delta Force is completely free, by the way. Another game that saw amazing success, No Man's Sky. Sean Murray said, well, F you guys. 100,000 concurrents over on Steam for No Man's Sky. Silk Song. Look at this graph. This is not how most graphs go. It's like each peak, it's holding around that 500,000 peaks. This is crazy after a week. And look, they actually beat one of my other favorite games that I can't put down, Path of Exile 2, which is having a banger of a season right now. You got 587, you got 578. Heck yeah. Just great news across the board. What was the last thing I had? So obviously you can tell I'm fighting off a cold. I've been keeping the streams a little bit shorter, but it is nice to spend an hour here with y'all. First things first, I want to thank you for joining the stream. And I'm not hanging out right away. I'll hang out and chat with Chad a little bit, waiting for the fam to get home, but it is 6, so got to chase the kids off to bed, etc. Josh Strive Hayes pointed out that a lot of people on YouTube have been noticing some weird activity. I noticed this literally the day I landed at Gamescom. I put out a preview for Onimusha 3. I put out a preview for Resident Evil Requiem. I put out a preview for Pragmata. And those previews, those are big Capcom games. They didn't break 10,000 views. They struggled to break 1,000 views. Now, I know I'm not like the top YouTube personality online. But this has impacted the entirety of YouTube. You have people like Linus Tech Tips commenting on it. Josh Strife Hayes, who I have brought up here, he's a significant personality online. He has a big audience. He's seeing a drastic impact. There's thoughts like, is this restricted mode? What's going on with this? Nobody really knows what's going on. I have people messaging me saying, you have not showed up in my subscription feed for weeks. So to combat this, and I don't normally do a call out like this at the end, but if you do want to support, you can support by becoming a member. That's great. That supports the channel to continue going to allow me to keep making content. You can become a Patreon member over at patreon.com/SafeStatePlus. I do greatly appreciate that. Do you need to? No. The one thing that you could also do, just watch the video. Watch the video, hit like, hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. It does help. Now, normally I wouldn't like do a direct call out like this, but anything you do to support, it's greatly appreciated. This is like my gaming thing. I'm trying to make it work, and I do appreciate all you. So like when I see people like, you know, Aries with his 48 months and the 5 gifted, it really does mean a lot. I appreciate it. You know, I do these streams every Sunday. This stream, I started setting up at 3. I thought I'd be ready at 4. I wasn't ready until 5. So I take a little bit of time to get it all together, and I do hope you enjoy it. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. If you did watch live or you're watching the VOD later, and you stuck around after that brain fog at the beginning, just hit the like button. YouTube's going to figure this out, or they won't. Who knows what's going to happen? And it just happens at such a unfortunate time, because I was really like excited about going to Gamescom. Thank you, Craig. I was really excited about going to Gamescom and doing all this stuff. And I was talking with Alex. Oh no, it's Alex on YouTube. He's saying like he's not really seeing the same impact. He's the only person I'm seeing say that. Every single other person is saying, like, mega creators are saying, oh yeah, something weird's going on for sure. And you look at their analytics, yeah, they're doing like one third the views. It's weird, man. So I don't know what they changed, but they definitely changed something. I was gonna play Tokon, Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. But yeah. Craig, thank you so much. I have been thinking about bringing it back, like doing it a little bit differently and figuring out some of the stop gaps. But yeah. You went live and I got nothing in Chrome on my phone. Used to all the time, and I'd be in a second. Yeah, it's weird, you guys. Like, we don't know what's going on, but YouTube is nerfing channels into the ground. And unfortunately, it's literally when I brought Josh on to help, and then I'm like, Josh is very understanding. I'm very appreciative about his patience, but I let him know about this. I'm like, hey man, I don't know what's going on, but this is strange. The one benefit to it, though, is it's really had me reflect on the content that I'm making. And I'm like, okay, YouTube's destroyed my channel, basically, right? It's bad, you guys. Like, I wonder if I could show you. Like, I want to... I'm not crazy. It's bad. It's really, really bad. You go from, like, reasonable numbers to shockingly low numbers. So let's see. July, I had a great month. August 13th is the date that a lot of people are pointing towards, right? So I had a great month in July. I didn't really slip up or anything in August. I still posted pretty regularly. I think I missed a few days. In August, I did less than half what I did in July. So one of my best months ever in July to less than half in August. That's nuts. That is absolutely crazy. So yeah, something's totally messed up. And it's not like I was slacking off in August either. So it's weird, and it is impacting a lot of content creators. So Yeah, I don't really know what to say about it. It is what it is. I'm not going to quit. But what I have been thinking is, I like to look at grass is greener. What if I stop trying to post so frequently and I spend more time just making really great content? So whenever YouTube figures out whatever the hell is wrong, I can come back even stronger. That's the way that I'm looking at it, honestly. Yeah. So in August, I did 479.6 thousand views. And in September, that's not accurate. It says September, I did 80,000 views. Yeah, September 1st to, what are you doing? Oh, let's see June. We'll compare June. And I know you can't see anything. I apologize. Yeah. So in June, I did 457,000 views. In August, I did 479,000 views, which is more. But my revenue was nearly $1,000 less. I don't usually talk about how much I make on YouTube, but it's weird, you guys. So I did more views, but somehow I lost a significant amount of revenue in August. It doesn't make sense. And that's just the YouTube stuff. So something weird's going on. I just wanted to bring it to your attention if you haven't heard yet. But yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here. I guess I'm gonna go make dinner for the kids. I wonder if I'm probably just gonna play Path of Exile 2 tonight. What do you think I should do? So we're just gonna hang out and do chat for a little bit. Do you think that I should go back and finish Clair Obscur and just play the old games? Or should I focus? Like, I'm probably just going to play Path of Exile 2. I don't even know why I'm asking. I'm trying to play Path of Exile 2 and Destiny Rising. But part of me wonders, I'm like, should I dedicate like an hour a night to playing Clair Obscur until I finish it? And then do the next one? If there were games that I wanted to finish this year, I want to finish Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I would love to go back to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, but that's like a pretty massive game. I think in order of priority, Clair Obscur, Death Stranding. I need to play Donkey Kong and make something about it. You should reroll Merc. No, I already did Merc. I want to do something different. But Merc was my first class that I ever did. How far in? I don't even remember how far I am in an Expedition 33. I think I just got on the boat. I got to that village with all the like kids or whatever. I don't remember. And I kind of got lost, and then I think I turned it off. So that's where I left off. Anyway, I'm sort of rambling now. I'm just hanging out with friends chatting, Thanks everybody for watching. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell. You should stick around, though. I have a lot of great content. And while I have you, like I said, hit that like button. But you can also become a member if you'd like to. Become a member by clicking the join button. You can become a Patreon over at patreon.com/SaveStatePlus. I do appreciate all of my patrons. I'm going to get out of here. But before I go, be sure you check out this cool video that I'm linking to this time, because I talk about something that you might be interested or into. Anyway, I got to go. Bye for now, everybody.